Okay, welcome back to the deep dive.
Hey there.
Today, we're not just dipping a toe in. We've got this pretty hefty stack of sources all about Canada. We're taking a full plunge.
That's right. Yeah, the material we have here really digs into the diverse appeal of the country.
Mm.
And crucially, it seems to offer a suggested way to plan a trip, which, given how massive Canada is actually a big piece of the puzzle, or so these sources suggest.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive. Let's crack open these sources, pull out the most important bits, those real nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah.
The goal is to quickly get you well informed about Canada's incredible draw, and, importantly, how this material suggests you can actually navigate planning your visit. Let's unpack this.
Absolutely. So the first thing the sources really hammer home is just the scale.
Scale.
Yeah, they hit you right away with the fact that Canada is the second largest country in the world by landmass.
Second largest. Okay, so that scale, I guess the sources suggest, is kind of the foundation for its appeal.
Exactly. They describe it as this breathtaking mosaic, and not just geographically, but also culturally.
So a mix of landscapes, multicultural cities, history.
Right, all blended together. And this mosaic, according to the sources, spans an incredible range. Like, think everything from the icy, rugged tundra up in the Yukon, all the way down to the, completely different sandy shores of Prince Edward Island out on the Atlantic coast.
Huh. Quite the contrast. So they're basically saying this vastness and variety means Canada genuinely offers something for pretty much anyone.
That seems to be the core message.
Yeah.
Whether you're after high adventure or culture or the city buzz, or maybe just, peace and quiet.
Solitude seekers, too.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sources dive into why specifically you'd travel there. They really break down this appeal.
Okay, let's start with the natural beauty, because I imagine that's a big one. The sources must spend some time there.
Oh, definitely. They flag quite a few specific examples.
Like what?
Well, they prominently feature the Rocky Mountains, highlighting Banff National Park in Alberta.
Right, Banff.
Yeah, for what they call world-class skiing and hiking. Then, of course, you've got the absolute icon, Niagara Falls.
Can't miss that one.
Described as one of the most powerful waterfalls anywhere, apparently drawing millions of visitors.
Okay, Niagara's definitely on the radar. What about something a bit more atmospheric?
Well, the sources do mention the Northern Lights.
The Aurora Borealis.
Yeah, noting you can see it in northern territories like the Yukon and Nunavut, and even parts of BC and Alberta sometimes.
Cool.
And then, contrasting that sort of vast, wild experience, they also point to the Atlantic coast.
Okay.
With its charming villages, maritime history, presented as a quieter, kind of distinct natural escape.
It's fascinating how they highlight such different natural experiences all within Canada.
Right. And they sort of wrap up the nature part by emphasizing the sheer amount of vast forests, glacial lakes, mighty rivers across the country, framing them not just as landscapes, but as like a crucial sanctuary for wildlife, and importantly for visitors, a dream for photographers.
So nature is clearly a massive draw. But those sources don't stop there, right? They talk about the cities, too. Multicultural cities.
They do, yeah. The sources paint a picture of Canada's main urban centers as being clean, modern.
Okay.
And really reflecting that national multicultural mosaic we mentioned earlier. They give specific examples to kind of showcase this.
Toronto, for instance, being the biggest.
Toronto, exactly. Identified as the largest city, highlighted as this bustling hub of culture, food, business, you name it.
Right.
Then you move east to Montreal in Quebec. That gets singled out for its strong French heritage, its art festivals, its food scene. It gives you this distinct North American feel, but with a real European twist, apparently.
Montreal's French side does sound captivating. What about heading west?
Vancouver, British Columbia. The sources note its amazing location, right? Tucked between the mountains and the ocean.
Yeah, beautiful setting.
And they mention it's often ranked among the world's most livable cities. Oh, and Ottawa, the capital that blends its governmental role with quite a rich cultural scene, too.
In Quebec City, the sources call it a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
They do, yeah. Describing it as feeling like you stepped into historical Europe, but in North America. Cobbled streets, old world charm, that kind of thing.
So the insight here is that the cities themselves are presented as being just as diverse as the landscapes.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, each offering a uniquely Canadian but distinct urban experience.
Okay, so we've got stunning nature, incredibly diverse cities. The sources also make a point about Canada being a year-round destination, right? Not just summer or winter.
That's a key takeaway, definitely. They break down activities by season, showing how the country's appeal shifts but doesn't disappear.
So winter.
Winter is naturally big for skiing and snowboarding, but they also specifically mention ice skating on Ottawa's Rideau Canal.
Skating on a frozen canal, that sounds uniquely Canadian.
It really does. Then spring brings, milder weather and color, like cherry blossoms in Vancouver and these big tulip festivals in Ottawa.
Tulips in Ottawa, okay.
Summer is presented as peak season for the classic outdoor stuff, hiking, kayaking, whale watching. Plus, loads of music festivals happening.
And fall. Got to be the foliage, right?
Absolutely. The sources specifically call out the stunning fall colors in provinces like Ontario and Quebec as a major seasonal draw.
So year-round appeal is definitely covered. Now, with all these possibilities, this huge country, it could get overwhelming. Do the sources help narrow it down, like list specific top tourist destinations?
They do, thankfully. They list places they flag as must visit, especially maybe for first-timers.
Okay, where do they suggest focusing?
They start with Banff and Lake Louise in Alberta, positioning it as the iconic Canadian Rockies experience.
There's those turquoise lakes.
Exactly, those unbelievable turquoise glacial lakes, the dramatic peaks. They mention it has everything from luxury resorts to just, postcard perfect views everywhere you look.
The photos are incredible. Niagara Falls gets another mention here, too, as a top spot.
Yep, listed again. A natural wonder, accessible all year. They mentioned the boat tours, like Made of the Mist, and even things like zip lining for the more adventurous types. Hotels with views, the whole package.
And Vancouver is also on this must-visit list.
Right. Described again as that vibrant city between the sea and mountains, a prime gateway, they say, to outdoor adventures, scenic drives, coastal cruises.
Makes sense.
Toronto makes the list too, highlighting the CN Tower, its diverse neighborhoods, the art scene, plus its role as a jumping-off point for Niagara or maybe Northern Ontario.
And Quebec City again, reinforcing its status.
Definitely. Emphasized for its deep history, that European feel, cobblestone streets, old forts, its strong French culture, and they specifically flag it as a fantastic winter destination.
Ah, interesting. Winter Carnival, maybe?
Exactly. They mentioned the Quebec Winter Carnival.
Okay. Anywhere else?
They also mentioned Whistler in British Columbia.
The ski resort?
Yeah, highlighting it as one of the largest and most famous ski resorts in North America. But crucially, they note its appeal isn't just winter. It's great for summer hiking and other activities too.
Good point. And finally, for someone looking for something maybe wilder.
The Yukon.
Yeah.
The sources position it for those seeking unparalleled solitude and untouched wilderness.
Wow.
It's framed as a place for thrilling adventures, exploring gold rush history, and of course, experiencing the magic of the Northern Lights.
Okay, that's quite a list. Banff, Niagara, Vancouver, Toronto, Quebec City, Whistler, the Yukon. With such a vast range of options across this enormous country, planning a trip like this could feel, pretty daunting.
It absolutely could. I mean, where do you even start? And this seems to be exactly where the sources pivot. They introduce a practical solution for planning.
Ah, okay.
A platform called flightandhotels.com.
Flightandhotels.com. Okay, tell us what the sources say about this platform. What is it?
They describe it basically as a global travel booking platform, specifically designed, according to this material, to make planning a trip to Canada simpler, more affordable, maybe more efficient.
For travelers anywhere in the world?
Yeah, that's what they say. Coming from anywhere.
And how does it do that? Based purely on what the sources say, what features do they highlight?
Okay, so the sources state it lets you compare and book flights from multiple airlines.
Right.
Presenting competitive prices all in one place. You can also find and reserve hotels a wide range, they say, from budget-friendly places up to luxury spots.
Okay, flights, hotels, cars too.
Yep, they mentioned you can rent cars from top providers through the same platform as well.
So the core travel components, flights, hotels, cars, all in one spot.
Exactly. Plus, the sources add that the platform gives access to exclusive travel deals, maybe some last-minute offers, and even curated travel packages specifically for Canada.
Curated packages.
Yeah. And importantly, they reiterate, you can use it to plan your Canadian trip no matter where you are in the world.
That global access seems like a key point they're making. What about the benefits of using this specific platform? What do the sources claim?
They list several clear benefits, finding the best discounted rates, suggesting this comes from their real-time comparisons across different providers.
See everything at once?
Right. They highlight global access, like we said, a secure booking process, and it's available 24/7.
And it sounds like convenience is a big selling point for them.
Absolutely. The sources really pitch it strongly as a one-stop shop.
Meaning?
Meaning you don't have to juggle multiple websites for flights, then hotels, then car rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you need is presented as being right there, integrated on the platform.
That integrated approach does sound like it would simplify things, especially if you're planning, say, a multi-city trip across a country as big as Canada.
And speaking of multi-city trips, the sources actually provide a sample itinerary.
Oh, really? For first-time visitors?
Yeah, kind of showcasing how you might string together some of these top destinations we talked about.
Oh, that's helpful. Okay, let's hear that sample plan. What do the sources suggest?
Okay, so the sources suggest starting with day 1 to 3. Arrive in Toronto, likely Pearson Airport. Use this time to hit landmarks like the CN Tower, the Royal Ontario Museum.
ROM, yeah.
And definitely take a day trip out to see Niagara Falls.
Okay, so hitting those major Southern Ontario highlights first. Makes sense. Then what?
Then, day 4 to 6. Fly to Calgary, Alberta. Pick up a car. Drive into Banff National Park.
Into the Rockies.
Right. The itinerary suggests exploring iconic spots like Lake Louise, Bow Falls, maybe driving a stretch of the scenic Icefields Parkway.
Completely shifting gears there from urban Ontario to the mountains.
Totally. Next, days 7 to 9. Head west to Vancouver, BC. Spend time exploring Stanley Park, visiting Granville Island, maybe the Capilano Suspension Bridge.
Another major city, but with that distinct Pacific coast and mountain feel.
Got it. Following that, day 10 to 12. Fly across the country to Quebec City.
Wow, okay. Big jump.
Yeah. And the focus here is really immersing yourself in the history and that unique French-Canadian culture.
That really adds a different cultural layer to the trip.
For sure. And finally, day 13 to 14. The itinerary suggests kind of a more relaxed pace. Maybe exploring coastal areas like Nova Scotia or Prince Edward Island.
Out east again?
Yeah, perhaps even doing some whale watching before heading home.
That is an incredibly comprehensive 2-week trip. East, west, Rockies, cities, culture. Wow.
The sources must acknowledge that coordinating all the flights and hotels for that kind of itinerary could be pretty complex, right?
They do, yeah. And this is where they explicitly tie that sample itinerary back to the planning platform they mentioned.
Ah, flightinhotels.com again.
Exactly. The sources specifically recommend using it for booking those necessary multi-city flights and for comparing accommodation options across all those different locations, in real time as you plan.
Right. So pulling back from the specifics of the itinerary and the platform, what's the main takeaway the sources leave us with about Canada itself?
I think the overriding insight from all this material is that Canada is presented not just as a place, but as this vast, incredibly rich tapestry.
A tapestry, I like that.
Yeah, a blend of cultures, stunning landscapes, and really unique experiences waiting to be discovered. And the sources clearly position this platform, flightinhotels.com, as the tool that can help you weave together your own trip through that tapestry, suggesting it makes planning easy, flexible, and affordable.
Exactly. It's framed as the practical bridge, between the dream of exploring Canada and actually making that exploration happen.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into the material provided on Canada. It paints quite a picture.
It really does.
So thinking about everything the sources covered, the immense natural beauty described, from the Rockies to the Atlantic coast, and then the distinct character of the cities, Toronto's buzz versus Quebec City's old world charm. Which type of Canadian experience, based on this material, calls to you most strongly? And how might you prioritize that kind of focus if you are planning your own deep dive into exploring this vast country? Something for you, the listener, to mull over.
Definitely food for thought.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.